Hey, Planeswalkers, hope you're doing well and staying safe. Welcome to this week's episode of Friday Night Meta here on the channel. Very excited, as always, to break things down for you in the Innistrad Midnight Hunt atmosphere and ecosystem right now with yours truly, MetaMaster Mythras. Excited to check out what's happening here this week. Breaking things down for you across standard, historic Brawl, and then some events and maybe a couple key decks here today. So you can find that information down below in the timestamps. On top of that, if you got questions, if you got comments, please let me know down below. Always love to hear from you and interact. On top of that, you can hop in the Discord server. That information is available to you in the description, along with other great ways to support the channel, my friends. So thank you to YouTube members and patrons as always. So let's get started here because this is what you're here for today in standard. We're going to work through our best of one and then get into our best of three. A couple key things is mainly I want to talk to this here. Everything's starting to flatten out. We have seen a couple small changes. We'll talk about those a little bit later. But again, the biggest portion being our lovely mono white aggro green stompy. And again, mono black control kind of being at the top. So these portions certainly sucking the life out of a lot of those of you that I hear about quite often and where we're going at in the meta. You're essentially running into at least 2 out of 5 matches plus of these decks. So pretty crazy when we look at that. Now, even though it's leveling out, it means to see here, or remains to be seen, what might new effects happen as we bridge into our November season. Man, it's almost November, crazy. As we close things out, I expect this to be kind of similar, but we'll check out some of the events today and see what's going on there. So that is the broad picture stroke here. We're going to drill down into our competitive scene. Again, not too much changing there. Again, resource control, we'll double check because last week that had a big bump and see what's happening there. So I'm going to break down each of these into little chunks that are bite-sized for you depending on where you're at in those tiers. We'll get into our competitive space here and we'll chat a little bit more about what's going on. So a couple changes there, as you can see in the diamond space, so that's important to take note of. But last but not least, as we get into Mythic, here's what we got going on in Mythic. So mono black control doing very well. Is it Dragons? Mono white aggro still remains at the top. We got mono green stompy. The resource control kind of fell out of favor this week, and again, everything else is kind of going sideways there. So that is what we got going on in best of one. We are going to flip over here now to best of 3 standard and see what's going on. Again, continues to be dominated by mono green stompy, mono white aggro. We do have that Is It Dragons pump there, mono green stompy. But again, if we break down these two, well over 50% meta for best of 3. So when we look at what's going on again, we got those pops. Things are starting to go a little bit sideways, but we do have mono green and Is It Dragons creeping back up. The big one here this week is the entrance of Esper Control at a broad range in terms of what's there. I'll go down there so you can see that. A lot of this stuff, which is pretty driving quite a hard dichotomy here in terms of win rates, is really the top versus the bottom. We don't usually see this many decks hovering as close to 50% or less, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later as well. As we get in a more competitive scene, we continue to see dimmer control fall off on the win rates. We do have Esper Control still here in the space. Again, mono green, mono white aggro, really holding hard and heavy. And then again, in terms of what we got, these things again, key 3 staples ticking up there. Going sideways, we do see Is It Dragons starting to get a little bit better of a win rate with what's going on there. But let's blow things out. We'll go drill down into each of these sections right now. Again, we don't expect any of this to happen until gold, but we like to always take a quick look. There we go. Wow, mono green at 74%, crazy. Then as we move forward into platinum, we start to see some of these things get compressed. We got a 41% win rate there. This was a little bit what I was talking about. Look at diamond, dimmer control, Esper Control, Gruul, Werewolves. You certainly should be off that. In my opinion, if you're looking to continue to move forward in the competitive space, despite probably being very fun decks to play. Then as we move here into Mythic, again, we see this. We got Boros aggro here getting closer to that space. We got Selesnya mid-range kind of popping back in. Dimmer control and Azura's control. So at the highest levels, 30% being mono green. Crazy, crazy, crazy. We got Izzet Dragons, mono white aggro, and the works. So Planeswalkers, that is what we have going on Standard this week. Again, slightly steady Eddie, but some newcomers there for best of 3. Let's go ahead now. We're going to pop out to our historic scene because we do have some shifts here. Boom. Here we go. This is best of 1 in terms of what we've been seeing. First off, we got Jeskai control, mono red aggro, Selesnya Angels, mono green elves. Mono green elves is starting to come off. Not surprised, again, as the meta starts to pick up and change after the Banhammer. This deck was certainly alive before, continue to be alive, and that's why you see those jumps. The big pickup here is Izzet Phoenix. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. We've also begun to see Squirrel Twin creeping in a little bit more in this meta. Pretty balanced in terms of what we have here. We don't see the same as we have been in Standard with like 30%. This generally represents a little bit healthier, which is nice. So clearly the ban is doing a good job there. As we get to more of the competitive scene, you can begin to see some of these decks again representing pretty similar, a little bit higher on the Izzet Phoenix here in terms of what's happening in the meta, in the middle there as well for win rates. We'll pop out and get a higher level view as we drill down into each of these, or more narrowed focus into each of these here. We're getting in the competitive scene, mono red aggro doing well. Then we get to Diamond, mono red aggro doing well again. Selesnya Angels in there, and then we get to Mythic, Rakdos Arcanus popping in there. So pretty important to see that. Again, that's why we do some of these things. We do have 5-color Dragonstorm popping back in as well. So that's the new combo deck. Well, not new combo deck, has been a combo deck, but really getting back in there. Then we have our 5-color Niv Mizzet deck. So let's pop back out. We're going to move over to our best of 3 here, and we'll certainly see some movements. Boom, here's some big ones. Izzet Phoenix really taking off. Boom, we can see that going on here. Some major changes. 5-color Niv falling out of favor. We talked a little bit about this last week. We see Coco, Selesnya Company doing pretty good again here in the meta in terms of what we're seeing, and some traditional ones having been in this space. Let's go ahead and move into the competitive scene. Again, pretty representative of what we had at Broad. So very, very important for us to pay attention to. But let's go ahead now and we'll drill into each of these tiers. Going into our lovely, lovely gold should give us something. Again, historic tends to be more expensive, so we don't see it until we get to that competitive space. Here's what we got going on for those of you playing in Platinum. As we move further up the chain into Diamond, that's the take that we have. Izzet Phoenix dominating in terms of the amount played, and then Mythic here. So again, similar style. We got a lot going on. Gruul Shaman's having a really, really nice win rate along with Selesnya Company. So that's what we have going on in Historic today. Again, let's blow things back out because that's pretty important for us to see. So again, questions, comments, let me know. Love to hear from you down below. Last but not least, here we got Historic Brawl in terms of our meta pictures. Kinnan here taking over again. Do we got anything new in this space? Pretty much a lot of the similar stuff going on. We got not so healthy win rates at the bottom. Again, slice the meta. Always fun. Golos really coming back as one of the top played decks. I think was a little bit different last week as we saw the entrance of a couple of different decks. Essentially what we had. So always like to do the snapshot. I think a lot of you enjoyed doing that. In particular, we do plan to get back to some of these Historic Brawls tournaments on the multiverse here. So I like to cover these. With that, Planeswalkers, that is all the snapshots that we had today and the information of the decks that we wanted to go through quickly here. I do want to talk about some of the events last week because we did see some of those changes. So when we look at our key standard events, we had the Red Bull Untapped. Second round here, 1,000 players plus. Here's what we got going on in the breakdown. Izzet Dragon certainly doing well. Epiphany, aggro decks kind of falling out there. Mono green still in there. We got some Jund Treasures, Grixis Epiphany, a little bit different than some of the other domination that we've seen. which is always healthy to see. When we look at number of decks in the field, we can certainly see that what's going on at the meta. Mono green still having a healthy win rate, mono white. Interesting, is it Epiphany performing well, but not having as high as a win rate? Same with Is It Dragons. So very, very interesting there when we look at that. Let's see what deck had the highest win rate. Bant Tempo, there you go. Boros Humans in there as well. Is It Delver doing pretty well too. So again, very small sample size, but always like to see what's happening there in the space. Then as we move into historic, here's the big kicker. We had a Red Bull Untapped in Japan. So 200 plus folks, historic format. Here's what we had going on. Is It Phoenix taking it down? So certainly has became an influence and impact of what's going on. We got multiple Is It Phoenix stacks. We saw it Rakdos Arcanus popping back in there. Golgari Stompy we haven't quite seen yet pick up, but a host of different decks here given our post ban again in terms of what's happening in some of those movements. Not seeing any of the 5-color Niv-Mizzet here performing well. We do have a Neostorm deck in there, so that looks like it's starting to come back around. So wanted to call these out. Very good for us to see as we hop back over here. So next, what do we have going on to pay attention to? One, the October season is coming to an end. Good luck to many of you. I know those of you in the Discord, some of you are close. So hopefully we can make it happen and make that magic so you can participate in the Mythic qualifiers. Additionally here, we'll see definitely a change as we move into, most likely a change as we move into September. Maybe a lot of the aggro decks are already dominating. Generally, you come off control, pivot into aggro as there's kind of that rush factor happening there for us in terms of first out of the gates with the new season. We'll continue to keep an eye on what's going to happen here with Crimson Vow. Very excited about seeing some of the new cards. We got a lot of spoilers coming out. You can pay attention to that in the channel as well. We love talking about that stuff. I'll try and do some sort of review maybe if I get some time here for next month as we begin to pick these things up. So that's what's happening right now. If you got questions, if you got comments about those, love to hear from you as always. Please let me know down below. Love to hear that. Feel free to hop in that Discord server, information, the details. Last but not least, stay connected because we have a lot of cool things that we're doing, a lot of great conversations going on. And always appreciate your support as well. Flip me that like if you enjoyed today's video. Stay tuned because we got more standard top decks. I'll get to historic. We'll get going back hopefully this next month on some live streaming, hopefully a tournament as well, and a host of a bunch of other things, Planeswalkers. So thank you so much. We'll see you again soon here. You take care. Have a great Friday. Enjoy your Friday night magic, but really Friday night meta here on the channel. So take care. Until next time, Planeswalkers, Mythras out.